Warning. The following broadcast is not approved by your teacher, university, politician, or government. Side effects may include skepticism, better reasoning skills, liberty, peace, and an escape from the woke.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Been Awake with LB. I am your host, LB Muniz, and I know what you're thinking. Why isn't this a election 2024 recap episode? Well, if you're watching the video, you'll notice that I'm not in a studio, and come on, there's so much good content from the election. Suffice it to say, Trump won. It's very exciting. We're going to go over some of the cabinet picks in a episode soon. But for tonight, I got some time chilling in my car, waiting for my fiance. Yeah, I got engaged. So that's enough of my personal life. And it's connected a little bit to the story that I wanted to cover, because there was an article published November 17th in the New York Post entitled, "Are You Dating a Red Pill Guy? Here are the dark tactics they use on women according to their exes." This is by, what's this woman's name? Hannah something. I don't know. The reader took it off, but whatever. Are you dating a red pill guy? Now, I want to clarify some of the things, a couple of things before we get into the piece. What is a red pill guy? Well, it depends on who you ask. Now, currently, red pill, it kind of describes a certain space on the internet that deals with cultural trends. Now, the red pill metaphor, which they're going to get into in the article, and I've written about, so there's there's a political concept of a red pill, there's a cultural concept of a red pill, a dating concept of a red pill. Red pill basically means that you don't accept an established narrative. The established narrative, if you will, that you are somebody who sees through things, right? And of course, it is a reference to the movie The Matrix, where you can take the red pill and see the Matrix for what it is, or you can take the blue pill and forget this ever happened. So, blah, 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 this has become a cultural thing. I've criticized on this show, you can go back and listen, some people within the cultural red pill space and the dating red pill space. I think a lot of those guys, while a kernel of truth can take you in very dangerous directions. And that happens sometimes with red pill content. I also think just the general trend of what it means to be a content creator and have to drive engagement and engagement, clicks, views, all that sort of thing, leads one, it incentivizes one to a place that maybe isn't the best space. Now, I'm not here to call anybody out per se in this episode. I thought this article was very interesting for a couple of reasons. One, many people, I guess, I don't necessarily vibe with the label, if you will, but I do think that I certainly other people would classify me as that, and certainly what we do on the show is try to break through narratives, try to show narratives in their proper context to give us a better understanding of the world around us here at the Project of Better Sense Making. So I quote tweeted this, right? I quote posted this on X. And I said, are the three nice things, nice dinners, strength of character, and stable lifestyle? But that's not what the author was talking about. So let's get into the piece, and then I'll tell you at the end what I really think is going on. So it says, dating can be a tough pill to swallow. Wow. Such profound insights here from the author. A small-scale study published in the journal Personal Relationships has uncovered what researchers claim are some ways so-called, quote, red pill subscribers align with the dark triad personality type. So what is this? Well, according to the study, TRP men, I guess that's the red pill, right? Yeah, because triad red pill maybe. TRP men consistently displayed self-interest and willingness to use manipulation to meet their needs, portraying themselves to their partners and the world as successful while callously disregarding partners' emotions in their pursuit of sex or social desirability. The term red pill according to the article, refers to a visual metaphor depicted in the 1999 sci-fi thriller The Matrix, in which the film's hero is asked to choose between taking a red or blue pill, with the latter representing illusions and the former leading to uncomfortable truth. Speaking to the ex-partners of Red Pill Men, the new research suggests an overlap between their deceptive tactics and dark triad traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. So, the dark triad traits: narcissism, being self-obsessed; Machiavellianism, seeing things in terms of a zero-sum game and wanting to get ahead and gain power for oneself; and of course, psychopathy, which is, doing things to a bad thing, doing bad things to people to get your way, which kind of seems to go in with Machiavellianism, but whatever. The research claimed to have found 4 common themes: relationship development, coaxing, outward appearances, and DT, dark triad associated internet behaviors. So it's what you post on the internet. Interesting. TRP men, I'm quoting from the study, and then we'll do some analysis. TRP men consistently displayed self-interest and willingness to use manipulation to meet their needs, portraying themselves to their partners and the world as successful while callously disregarding the partner's emotion in their pursuit of sex or social desirability, the authors wrote. The study pulled participants from Reddit, specifically those in the blue pill community, which takes a microscope to the so-called red pill concept. Irony, of course, if we're going to just take the metaphor for what it is. This is one of the reasons, I've definitely talked about, don't become the thing they tell you are, right? So if I say I'm a red pill, why the hell would you want to be a blue pill person? But hey, the reality is most people at the end of the day probably would take the blue pill. But it's an interesting contrast in how we interact with each other. The 6 women agreed. So there's 6 women. This is a great study, guys. 6 chicks. 6 chicks on Reddit is our source for this study. Agreed that their relationships were centered around image, success, and control. While the sample size was small, 6 women, the women all highlighted that their relationships moved at a fast pace from the get-go, a tactic called love bombing, which they believed was to establish control. The woman, so this is the first thing that red pill guys are apparently using, is a concept called love bombing. Now, here is something very important, and this is going to be a theme as we analyze this article, which is to say the classic meme of which side of the 6 or 9 are you standing on? Your perspective. A lot of the time, Perspective is real. Let's start there, right? Perspective is real. Subjectivity in existence is a real thing. It is something that we have to take into account if we want to do any kind of proper analysis. This is where the empiricists have a good... Sorry if you can hear that. This is where the empiricists have a point and science has a point. And the scientific method is a way to determine truth. Not all truth, but a lot of truth. Which is to say, by collecting data, we can begin to see whether or not something is true or not. That's one way to determine truth. Very, very, very clearly, very obviously. This isn't a difficult thing for us to understand. But this all comes down to perspective and subjectivity, right? So what is love bombing? Well, love bombing in terms of social analysis and in terms of, cults in particular is, I think, where the term came out. But basically, when people are isolated and alone and they are looking and searching for a community and they find, let's just say, a cult, one of the bad ones that we shouldn't be a part of, that might end up badly for you, that they love bomb you. So basically, people today are more isolated than they've ever been, right? Most of our relationships are intermediated, if not entirely, online. And so for a lot of people, I worry about this, and I've searched for it in my own life to make sure that I have real connections with people. But a lot of people are alone. So when people are alone and they're searching for a community, because we're social creatures and that's what we crave. That is what we crave as humans, is community and companionship of all kinds. What can happen is a process called love bombing, where there's these people come in and say, hey, welcome. You're a part of us. You are now one of us. You are part of our community. And we love you so much for being here. And what this process does psychologically is it tells us that we're safe here. And it, in fact, turns off alarm bells that might have existed in our brain before. Now, in the case of, let's say, a very dangerous cult that's going to lead you to do some crazy stuff, just to, use common parlance here. That's dangerous because you then become enamored not only with the community, but who you are within this community. And you will start to excuse, as these people become your in-group, you will start to excuse behaviors that stand out, right? So what's a common thing in these cults that occur? Well, a lot of times if it's a guy at the top or even a woman at the top, they tend to sleep around with the other people's significant others. So a married couple comes in, suddenly the cult leader says, hey, I want to sleep with your wife, and you're not going to be a part of this community anymore, this community that you've now dedicated your life to, if you don't let me sleep with your wife. Okay, well, that's, the bond between a man and woman is quite literally holy in properly constructed, certainly in the construct of a marriage. It's holy. It's something that should not be broken, and it shouldn't be something that somebody in a position of power, let's say somebody at the top of a hierarchy, should force you to break. And yet, if you find yourself within one of these cults, you will suddenly excuse the behavior. It's a psychological tactic, and it works. This is the truth. But what's another way that we can look at love bombing? What if you fall in love? Is it okay to love bomb then? Right? So see, love bombing is only ever used in a negative connotation. Because if it's a positive connotation, if this relationship works out, because that's what we're talking about here, relationships, it wouldn't be love bombing. It would be love at first sight. One more important distinction we should make before we get into this. Let's not forget that men, we don't always have the best of intentions. I encourage virtuous behavior in everybody who listens to this show and amongst my friends and peers, but I understand that that's not what everybody is looking for. Maybe not right. Hopefully in the future, that's where I would push everybody I know. Anybody who wants to live a good life, I think, should pursue this. But let's not pretend that men and women don't enjoy the chase of dating. And for better or worse, we live in a hookup culture, broadly speaking. It is socially acceptable to engage in relatively casual sex. Perhaps that's changing. We'll see what the consequences of that are. But it's enough to say that for now that this is the reality. And in that context, yes, men will lie to try and sleep with women. Of course. There is no programming around that reality. Okay? That's just the reality. So we're sitting here in this article, and the first thing, and we have to remember, love bombing could easily be love at first sight, or it could be a guy just trying to get laid. And you know what? If you're living in 2024 with access to the internet and you don't have the knowledge or the understanding to how to tell when a guy's putting a line on you, that says far more about you than it does about society or the guy that you're dating, if I could be so bold as to say. Getting back to the article. Wow, they've edited this article a lot. Sorry for the pause there. They've edited this article a lot since I read it. So the women's survey agreed that sex was regarded as a top priority. So we talked about love bombing. The women surveyed also agreed that sex was regarded as a top priority. Okay, so this isn't really dating. This is trying to hook up. Hookup is not dating. Dating is, I kind of like this person, so we'll hang out. Maybe we're casually dating. I don't recommend that policy, but I understand that people engage in it. Maybe we're casually dating, but dating is something a little bit different than trying to hook up. This seems like more of a hookup, or as the kids say, a situationship. They regarded as sex was a top priority in the relationship, often feeling pressured to meet their red pill partner's needs at the expense of their own, which seems to mean that the guy maybe was a little aggressive in the bedroom, but this all seems to be consensual. That's just the way some people are. According to the study, the 6 women also experienced coaxing to control their partners as well as guilt tripping. Lastly, partners of red pill men reported a narcissistic preoccupation with looks, social status, intellectual superiority, and financial success. Many women surveyed recalled their red pill's partner's frequent habit of flaunting wealth or touting achievement. You know what this sounds like? Spurt women, right? Which is so many of these articles. And unfortunately, they've ghost edited this article. There was a lot more meat in the center of this before. But let's go back. The 3 things that they pointed out was love bombing, coaxing, that sex is a thing, and preoccupation with status and wealth. What's actually wrong with any of those things, right? like I said before, let's put that in perspective. Let's put that in a different frame. Romance, boundaries, and standards. Now, I will never support somebody pressuring a woman to have sex. That's not what we're talking about here. Let's just get that clear for the purposes of this article. But what actually is the problem with saying you have certain expectations of your partner? In fact, if this was actually a relationship article instead of an article of women that got upset at the fact that some guys led them on to hook up with them, what's actually the problem with that, of expressing your sexual needs in a relationship? What's actually wrong with providing romance to a woman? What's actually wrong with having standards of how you look and the things you want to achieve in life? See, this is ultimately the irony, and this is where I guess you can consider me somewhat a part of the red pill community, is I will not apologize for seeking success and wealth to the extent that I can achieve it in my life. And you shouldn't either. And in fact, those are the people who will ultimately drive society forward and are the people who move it. But of course, there are always going to be far more people in that blue pill community who decide, no, this is all bad. Success and wealth is bad, not because of what it brings you, but because I, the blue pill person, have not been able to achieve it. See, ultimately what I've kind of realized as I've gotten older and as things have progressed, and listen, this isn't to say that people don't help you along the way. That's a relationship. That's the way the world works. Nothing is handed to you, but sometimes people help you, and there shouldn't be any fault in that. And in fact, if you're somebody who is driven, if you're somebody who is looking for success in life, that is precisely the direction you want to go, is finding people who can help you professionally and personally. I'm sorry that these 6 women on Reddit dated assholes. There's a lot of them out there. But at the end of the day, what really happens in these situations is that you let yourself believe something that wasn't true. And the best way to discern truth is to take the red pill. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode. I promise content comes in waves on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed for the next episode. Until then, follow me on all social media at the LB Muniz, and make sure you go to beenawake.com and subscribe so the next update is dropped right in your inbox.
If you like what you heard today, go to beenawake.com to subscribe for future updates. My name is LB Muniz, and I am not one with the woke.